the exciting opportunities, the difficult challenges, the wondrous innovations, and the priceless connections you've made. It's through events like these where you can gain valuable insight into seizing opportunity, managing those challenges, leveraging technology, and cultivating connections. In fact, throughout the series history, we've connected more than 5,000 people and expanded from 1 city to 5, with more to come. With this Summit Series, we want to be your resource connection going forward, whether it's education, people, capital, technology, or information. Today, you'll hear from nationally recognized thought leaders on issues that matter most to you and get the chance to network with colleagues who can help you to take your business to the next level. So, ask questions, meet people, get involved, have fun, and enjoy the day.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Charlie Weinstein and I'm the CEO of EisnerAmper. I'm glad you could join us today at New World Stages, home to such long-standing productions as Jersey Boys and The Play That Went Wrong. It's a pleasure to speak to you again at this 11th annual summit. I see a number of clients and friends of the firm in the audience, and I know that many of you have been with us since the beginning. Thank you for your support each and every year. It means a lot to us. Events of this kind take a lot of work, preparation, and tireless effort, not only of our personal wealth advisory team, but from a wonderful Summit Advisory Board. My thanks to each and every member of our advisory board. These are exciting times for our firm. We continue to grow both organically, welcoming 11 new partners to EisnerAmper, and through combining with other outstanding firms, most recently welcoming the staff and partners of Imowitz Koenig and Riesig to our family. Our presence here in the U.S. and abroad continues to expand, with almost 2,000 colleagues in offices throughout the U.S. and the world. One of our highest growth and most exciting practices is our Personal Wealth Advisors Group, which produces this amazing summit every year. As always, our focus is on our clients. Adding talented professionals and utilizing cutting-edge technology is part of our commitment to continuing to make your experience working with EisnerAmper great. And events like today's summit are built with you in mind. I very much look forward to speaking with you throughout the day. This year's summit theme is setting the stage for your success. At EisnerAmper, we like to think of ourselves as the directors, and our clients are the stars. It's important to us that our clients reach their financial goals. There's so much in store for you today, so let's get right to it. I'd like to introduce my partner, Maria Rigo, who is Marie is the co-lead of our family office practice and has been our summit chair since the program's inception in 2009. Marie, thank you, and it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 11th annual Private Wealth and Family Office Summit. When we last got together at the United Nations to celebrate our 10th anniversary, we highlighted some of the issues impacting families, such as the uncertainty of the geopolitical landscape, protection of the family and its assets, and how to plan for the family amidst all of the uncertainty. Clearly, those issues still remain, and in some respects, are of even heightened concern. Dysfunction in Washington continues. There are major shifts in our foreign policy. Domestic terrorism ensues, and we are all grappling with a new and complex tax law. We continue to actively monitor legislative and regulatory actions in real time, and throughout the year, we will continue to share our insights with you. For many of you who attended the workshops, I know that you have already come away with a number of actionable items. I would like to thank our workshop speakers for sharing their knowledge and best practices with all of us. So, one of my greatest pleasures of hosting our summit is to spotlight unique venues that are quintessential in New York City. We have had past summits at the United Nations. That would be summits number 1 and number 10. The Morgan Library Museum, the Intrepid Sea and Air Space Museum, and the New York Historical Society. This year, we pay homage to theater, an institution in New York, and we find ourselves at the New World Stages. This is a 5-theater, off-Broadway performing arts complex nestled between Times Square and Hell's Kitchen, and is beneath the plaza of the Worldwide Plaza complex. There are several productions currently at New World Stages. Charlie mentioned them. It includes the Tony Olivia and Grammy award-winning international smash hit, Jersey Boys, and hysterically funny British farce, The Play That Goes Wrong. So, now that you know where you are, it is showtime. Please turn off or silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to our performers and fellow attendees. And if you really think that you need that hard candy in the next hour and a half, please unwrap it now. Here to kick off Act 2 is my partner, Lisa Stewart, and the Doyle family, who will discuss what it takes to successfully transition the family business to the next generation. Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We're really excited to be here. You know, we were talking backstage about the importance of family-owned and closely held businesses, and you know, we're very passionate about this work and really believe that those family-owned and closely held businesses are the foundation of our nation's economy, and in fact, really the foundation of our world's economy. Just recently, I was overseas, and I got to meet with a family-owned business. I met with the owner of the business, and he was running a vineyard, and he was the 31st generation. So their company had started in the early 1400s. I know, isn't that amazing? So I asked him, well, what do you think is the secret to success? How have you been able to do it to keep the business in the family all this time? And what I found fascinating is that the things that he told me are the same secrets of success that I hear from our families here in the US all the time, including my friends and clients, the Doyle family. I think that one of the things that's so key is that those businesses that have been truly successful and been able to pass a business on from one generation to the next recognize that in a business, you have to keep upskilling, improving your ability to run that business, to do a better job, to grow it. And you also need to continue to upskill the family so that the family has the skills and the ability to maintain family harmony, maintain family values, and to really build that legacy from generation to generation. Unfortunately, we know that in a lot of families, it's a very difficult thing to do. So it's always just heartening for me to meet wonderful families like this who have been so successful and kept the business alive for such a long time. So I'm going to let the Doyles tell their own story and introduce themselves. So this is John, Alexandra, and Jack, who you're going to meet in just a moment. Now, I have to stick to the script here because I could chat with these wonderful people all day, and we don't have the time to do it. So instead, I've given them some questions, and we're going to go through those. We may or may not have time for an open mic at the end for questions, but if not, of course, we've got that wonderful cocktail time, so you can catch them. All right, so my first note is, Lisa, open up and keep it short. Done? My second note is, John, could you please let us know a little bit about who you are and about the company, the history of the company?
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. And Lisa, thank you for having us, and Charlie and Marie and Eisner-Amper. It's an honor to be here and share our story. And we'd be very open to sharing stuff during the session or after, so just to let everybody know. So yeah, I'm fourth generation. and hearing you share about your European client to, how many generations was that?
31.
31, we're John had come lately, so, but 4 generations. My great-grandfather started the company on St. Patrick's Day in 1919. He was a detective in the city of Rochester, New York Police Department, and decided to hang out a shingle and go into business and take that leap of faith and that risk and start a business and investigative services. And if you caught it 1919, this is 2019, we celebrated our 100-year anniversary, so that was a milestone and very exciting. And these guys threw a great big party, and everybody had a lot of fun, and myself included. So yeah, 4 generations. My great-grandfather, and then my grandfather succeeded him in the 1940s, early 1940s, and my father succeeded my grandfather in the late 1950s, and I bought the company from my father in 1986. So I'm now 62 years old, and I have 4 adult children, and you know, hoping to carry that on.
Right? And we know it's not always an easy thing to do. So my next question is, what was your most compelling reason for developing a succession plan? Because John is one of the few clients that I met with that when I walked in, he already had his plan sort of written out. I was like, oh, what am I here for? So
You're here to keep us out of trouble and make sure it works. And it's a combination. What compelled me was really a combination of fear and excitement. You know, I really love the idea of the family legacy. And as long as there's another generation that's ready, willing, and able, I just think it'd be a wonderful thing, and I would feel great about that. So excited about that possibility, try to nurture that possibility a little bit. But on the other side was fear, because we have a family business. You know, we're a small family business. We operate in Western New York, well, most of upstate New York, and into Pennsylvania as well. So we have a kind of regional footprint, but it's a valuable asset. And there's a lot of people. We have 175 people that work there, and a lot of customers, and it's really a very extremely, you know, it's a great asset. And then on the other hand, our family has terrific harmony. Our 4 adult kids, you know, get along great and have, you know, all, no, there was a few exceptions here. But so it was really fear of if we're going to go another generation, how can we do it in a way that minimizes disruption of the business and helps to preserve this wonderful family harmony that we have. I don't want to screw either of those things up.
right.
So it made me think a lot about it.
So tell me, how did you introduce the concept of succession planning for your family to the rest of the children and so on? And then what did you do to actually get the ball rolling?
My wife, Lauren, and I, there's Lauren in the front row with her photo op. Thank you. And we, you know, she's, you know, on this journey with me, and, you know, is highly vested in both, you know, preserving the business and the family harmony. So the way we went about it, we knew we needed to engage the kids, and I knew I needed to engage people at the company. So with the kids, we started early, and, you know, I tried to learn as much as I could about succession and what had worked, and, you know, I've seen a lot of family businesses where, you know, it has not gone well, and I've seen many where it has gone well. So I try to learn from my own experience, the way my father handled it, and I know in the second generation of our company, it almost blew up. There were some problems, so I learned from family stories and family experience. So we engaged the kids early, and I thought right off the bat that was important to do. So at young ages, I mean, you guys were pretty young. Maybe Jack, as the oldest, was maybe just approaching his teens, and then Chloe's our youngest. How many years younger is Chloe than you? But 7. So, you know, Chloe'd be hanging off the couch upside down, and Jack would be sitting there politely. And we started very informally, just, you know, hey, we have this business, and you all know that, but it's been in the family. Actually had my father, who was retired at that point, but my mother and my father came to that first meeting, and they shared experience. So we started out very informally, but with the idea of transparency and communication. A lot of communication and regular communication. And we started out just really kind of once a year at those young ages, and we just share a little bit. And each year as that's progressed, we've shared more to engage them, what the business is all about. We also took the time to set some ground rules about possible participation in the future. So that was communicated early. And then engaging our team, equally important. I wanted our team to understand that it was the goal and the vision to keep it in the family if possible. And so that they would know, when family members started to come in, why that was. And on one hand, it shouldn't be threatening because that's a great path forward, as opposed to selling it outside the family and to who knows who. So engage them in the process, engage them in helping to develop and onboard family members. So it was really engaging the family early and often, and engaging the team early and often in the process.
So no surprises. People knew really early on.
That's the hope. And in addition to that, another key aspect is having that outside assistance with a coach or consultant. And this is where you come in, Lisa. So we feel that that's important to have that objective third party to help both the family members and the leadership team. So it's hard to process all the information, and everybody needs an opportunity to kind of voice things in a safe way and confidential way. So having that outside presence has been really good too.
Great, good, thank you. So Jack, you've been in there the longest of the siblings, right?
Right.
And so can you tell us a little bit about your role, and then what sorts of things did you all do as a family and in the business to groom you for the role that you're in?
Sure. So I've been with the company now for approaching 5 years, almost 5 years exactly. I'm the director of business development currently. I was the manager of business development prior to that. What we did to kind of get me prepared for that, there was a number of different things. I started pretty early on. In high school, actually, I served in a number of different capacities. I was locksmith for a summer. I was a central station operator. I was a service technician, a salesperson. So I started pretty early on getting a feel for the business. And then I, excuse me, came aboard in a position I was prepared for. So had some experience outside the business as was required.
All right, so I think that's an important part. It's required, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that you work somewhere else before you can come into the family business. So that was a policy you all had put together earlier. So tell me, one of the challenges that we know sometimes as family members begin to enter into an established business, and you all have a strong and established senior management team, executive team. What's it been like for you coming in as an owner, a potential owner and a leader and a family member into that already established team?
Yeah, so it's been interesting. You inevitably have to deal with comparisons to your predecessors, so there's always that component to kind of battle. But you just try to take it one day at a time and just be the best professional you can be in the context of yourself. A number of things that I've tried to do are to just try to learn to set a tone of coming early, staying late, and just kind of proving myself to be a key contributor to the team, so that you kind of ward off those perceptions of being the boss's son kind of thing. So it's people can be predisposed to thinking certain things about someone coming in my role. And then, kind of once you've earned the respect of some of your colleagues and your peers, and I'm kind of at the mid to high mid level of the organization as a manager now, I also try to make efforts to not take on more responsibility than is assigned to me. It can be easy for people to project a little bit more responsibility than your title might otherwise suggest. So I tried just in the efforts to keep a good relationship with my peers, my contemporaries at the company, to kind of stay in my own lane, so to speak. If that makes sense.
Yes, and I would, I can echo that actually. I had such a unique opportunity when I first started working with the Doyle family to come in and not only interview the family members, but also to interview the members of that executive team. And one of the things, and I've shared this with the family, or, oh no, here's a surprise for you, is they told me that there is no member of the family that demonstrates any sense of entitlement, that the sense of humility, graciousness really runs right through the family. And I think that that's made that transition much easier. People are welcoming, to the family members coming in. So I thought that was a really important aspect of how you've managed yourself.
For sure. I think it can be a little challenging for some of the other leaders at the company to see members of the family coming in and kind of have this belief that we're going to be automatically given the key positions and taking away from their future opportunities. So it's important to develop really great professional relationships with them and make them understand that there are still opportunities for them within the company too.
Great, thank you. So Alexandra, you're in a unique position because you've started coming back into the family business. You've been out working somewhere else. So can you tell us a little bit about your role and what that's looking like and how you're sort of coming into the business?
Sure. I wanted to just start by saying, as my dad was talking about when we were young, we grew up from a young age with these family meetings, and as a kid, you're kind of like, why do we have to do this? You don't want to sit through it. And it's just normal to you. You're like, yeah, my dad has a business and whatever, or like, who cares? So for me, I would say it wasn't as linear as it was for Jack. He kind of always knew, I'm gonna go off and do something else, and I'm gonna come back and be part of Doyle. And for me, I was never opposed to it, but I was always like, yeah, I'm open to it, but I'm not sure. It's, it wasn't clear to me what I would do. So I lived in DC for a long time. I did marketing, digital, social, enjoyed myself a lot. And then I got married, I was pregnant, I moved back home. So that's what brought me back home. And I think that was kind of step one of what got me closer. But I started doing part-time work last November at Doyle on more of a contractor type basis. And it was 2 days a week. And honestly, it really happened organically for me. It just was, I liked going, and the people there were so genuine. And at first I was worried they were just being nice to me because I'm his daughter. But I soon realized that these people are truly genuine, and everyone's really happy to come to work every day. And my dad's just created this awesome culture. And I wasn't aware of it. I was so far removed from it for such a long time that I just didn't know. So it came time for my family that, I needed to go back to work full time, and I knew that was going to come. So it was just clear to me. I was like, I don't want to go work for anyone else. I can work with my family, and it's great. So that's how I got here. And I think it surprised everyone, including myself, but I'm really enjoying it. And one of the other rules that my dad has for someone coming into the business is, he doesn't displace anyone. So it's not like you say, I want to work for Doyle, make me a position. It doesn't work that way, which is great because obviously we don't want anyone to be upset that works there already. So I got lucky that a position did become open. And I think it was about 6 months after I told you that I was interested. And so I started full-time in September. So I'm doing a combination of marketing and some executive administration stuff. So it's been good. It's definitely a learning experience. I've never worked in the security industry, so I have a lot to learn, but I have really good teachers, and it's been great.
That's great. It's interesting, a lot of times people would say, oh no, siblings working together in the family business, how long is this going to last? So tell me, from your perspective, what do you think might be some of both the opportunities in working with your sibling and also maybe some of the challenges that you all might need to think about or work through?
Yeah, I think the opportunities are probably endless, but Jack and I have always gotten along really well. Even as kids, we just always have been really close. So I think we know each other really well. We can read each other and communicate really well, which is very helpful. You know, we're both open to hearing what the other person has to say without getting angry or arguing, and I think that's a huge plus for us. But I also think obviously there's going to be challenges, and with multiple siblings that are interested, our little brother Eric is also interested, and he right now lives in Kansas City, so he's not really local and not able to work for the company yet, but he has already expressed that that is his plan.
He's also 6'3" and 270 pounds, so.
Our little big brother. So there could definitely be challenges of having 3 siblings that want to be in this full-time leadership type of role. So obviously that's why we have you, Lisa, to help us. And my dad's done so much work starting when we were kids. So our family harmony has always been the most important thing to all of us. So that is always going to be that way. And I think having a third party like you is just amazing and has been incredible. It will really help us get to a place where everyone has their place and their passion and what they can do for the company.
Right. Yeah, I think the steps that you've taken so far have been really effective. So kind of in my last actually couple of questions is to let the audience know a little bit about some of those specific steps that you've taken. So in particular, John, you went to some effort, even with some prior people, to put together some documents and you know, some of the paperwork that you think is helpful. So would you like to explain a little bit about what you all have already done in terms of the formality that you've gone through?
Sure. Well, it started with you know, these ground rules that we set up for the kids coming in, and they include getting a related degree, go work somewhere else for a while, and if you're seriously interested and you think, you know, you're passionate about the security industry and being in business, let me know and we'll figure something out. And you know, as Alexandra alluded to, we also said, I need a year's notice because I need a budget cycle. I can't displace anybody. I need time to figure out to onboard somebody, unless something opportunistically comes up, which it did in Alexandra's case in 6 months, so it wasn't too long. And then I also made the ground rule that my kids will not report directly to me, so I could be a part of their support structure and have the ability to help teach them and share what I know, but not be directly responsible for, you know, their performance appraisals and stuff like that, and that day-to-day guidance. So that's where we started. There are a few other things, yeah, but those were the main ones. And from there, as it got more formal, we did decide to put together a family business constitution, first draft of one, and that was a collaborative effort. And we got more formal in the process. We did a long weekend retreat with a facilitator and set that goal of coming up with a constitution that worked for us. And it was a very collaborative effort with the whole family. And so about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, we had our first draft of that. And that's how I envision it playing out. You know, the formality will kind of increase as we go along. It was easy for me. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, none of whom were ever interested in the business. So for a long time, I had no other family member to have to kind of worry about, you know, shared ownership and shared leadership. And now it's a little bit more complicated because I have two of my kids in, the third one wanting to come in. So I think as it gets more complex and more people are involved within the family, we need to have some governance and some guidance on how it's going to evolve. So we're trying to take it step by step. So I'm happy with that first draft. And you look to the next generation, both of these guys have kids as well. Jack has 2 amazing little boys, and Alexandra has a little girl who's got me totally wrapped around her finger. And now things really get complicated. You think ahead to that next generation, and there are family businesses that work through that, and there are ways to work through it. So the Constitution is a way to help us, kind of look into the future, keep things organized and well governed.
Great. And I know too that with the family meetings, you're very careful about making sure that at least the annual family meeting, that you're inviting both the family, your children, but also their spouses. So you've really made an effort, I think, to educate the bigger, broader family too about the potential for the business, the future, what you're thinking about, and having them a voice at the table, which I think is rather unusual. You know, a lot of businesses don't always do that. What made you decide to involve the spouses?
Again, I guess it was wanting to be raise the level of engagement and inclusive. Warren and I made the decision to, once someone's engaged, that's their ticket into the family meeting. And that's a level of commitment. And we, you know, we had a situation, Eric was like this close to being engaged. And we had a family retreat coming up. And we had to process that decision. You know, do we make an exception? Do we stick with it? And
just made a decision that was the
yes,
goal.
yeah. And then it kind of, you know, the
It only
stars
was a
lined
week
up
earlier.
Right. And but anyway, that's where we drew the line. And having them involved, I think, has been great. They, you know, they become informed and can appreciate all the dynamics. And I'm hopeful that helps preserve harmony and understanding and acceptance. I mean, spouses, significant others, they're you know, your partners, and it's a big part of, you know, someone's professional life and obviously the family life too. So I think having them involved and aware and has already served us well, and I think it will serve us even more in the future. So.
Yes, I think just to sort of share next steps, we're already talking about the potential for forming a family council as the business, the business and the family continues to grow, to make sure that people do have a voice at the table. There's a way of continuing to upgrade that family constitution and so on. And I also know too, Alexandra, that coming in, I think it was very interesting, the philosophy about we don't just bring you in, there has to be a job that's available. And I remember you saying that the job that was originally available is not necessarily in your core area of expertise, but you're finding some ways to be able to fill in a different position that you feel that you can do. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It definitely wasn't something I had done before. Like I said, I did marketing for 10, 11 years before moving back to Rochester. So we kind of were able to find that middle ground where I could still do, a couple days worth of marketing and then do this other position that was open that my dad felt could be streamlined in a lot of ways. So that's what I've been working on a lot, is trying to streamline processes that we have and kind of bring us into today's age a little bit more for certain things. And it's a fun challenge for me. I like doing that kind of thing. So I haven't done it in the past, but it's been interesting and a great learning experience. I've gotten to be in a lot of meetings and learn a lot already, and it's only been a couple months. So I think it was a good starting point in that respect as well, because you do get that opportunity to sit in meetings that I probably wouldn't have been sitting in before or with a different position maybe. So I'm learning a lot, and yeah, it's worked out well.
Oh, and I think it's such a nice example of many times family businesses will have their rules and policies, right? The protocols that they've got written out. But then when something actually happens, like if a kid says, "Oh, I want to come back," it's like, "What rules?" Right? And they go right out the window. But you've really done a very nice job of determining what you felt was important, what was in line with your values, and then sticking to that, even when sometimes those decisions were hard. So I think it's noteworthy. So
I was just going to say I was perhaps a little bit luckier than Alexander was a little bit more of a natural fit for when I came in, but there was kind of an interesting situation that I thought would be worth sharing. So right prior to joining the company again, I had some experience with a business startup. I started a business in Washington, D.C., and prior to that had a pretty long sales career in a variety of different industries. And there was an opportunity to start a kind of new division within the company that was very entrepreneurial in spirit, and had a lot of synergy with what I had done with the startup that I did in DC. And the timing was right and the stars aligned. I was able to jump into that role without having to do kind of what Alexander's doing right now and to take on some other responsibilities that I wasn't necessarily equipped for out of the box. But even prior to that, in this planning phase, I think my dad talked about a year to 6 months of time in between us or me telling him that I'm ready to come aboard and actually coming aboard. He actually had me prepare my resume another time, which I thought was incredibly smart. At the time, I was just a little like, I gotta fix my resume, like what for? Come on. But I did, and he ended up sharing that with my future colleagues. So they could get a better feel for what I was all about and what I was able to bring to the table, and just kind of come in with a little bit more respect that this isn't something that was just handed to me, but it's something I was prepared to do.
Right. Yeah, good example. And what I think another thing that's really nice, and that I know Jack, you and I have talked about that, is moving forward, I think that the family has really embraced this idea of servant leadership, stewardship, a way of doing business. And while it's not been formalized in terms of that language, you've already got so many of those practices, and that there's an opportunity for the next generation to continue that, right, and to carry that on.
And that's something that you and I have spoken about, and as a group too. I think it's definitely something we're looking forward to working towards with you, and to come up with some, whether they be guiding documents or manifest themselves in this family business council that we've been discussing. I think it's extremely important for future generations. My dad was lucky to be in a situation where there really was no, for lack of a better term, competition. It's not what I see Alexandra as, but he had no other siblings that were going to be in the business, so it was very simple and straightforward. But as Alexandra and I progress here, and possibly my brother Eric, and then hopefully, hope we're able to go another generation, things will get even more complicated. So to create that family governance and that philosophy statement, I think will be critically important.
Good, thank you. Well, we do actually have a little bit of time if we want to open this up to some questions from the audience, if everybody feels prepared. So I know that there are, of course I can't see anything, but I think that there are some mics out there if we have any questions from the audience. Oh, we do have a mic, right?
Yep, we have two.
Okay, great. So maybe you all can see people, but do we have any questions for our family? There we go, okay.
Well, someone has asked the first question, but I'm curious, what did you put in your family constitution? That can't be easy to do.
What's in the family constitution?
Statement of mission, vision, values, and that, it's almost like putting a strategic plan together, but those were a starting point, and those were great exercises the first time through. I mean, we probably don't have to revisit those too often from here, but those were very engaging, great conversations to have as a family. They're relating to a little bit to the business, but Lauren and I just thoroughly enjoyed those exercises with the kids. So it started there, and then it was also building in the other ground rules that we had already adopted before the Constitution was drafted, and we revisited those as well. So we just had a lot of in-depth conversation. What should this look like? This is the starting document that in theory could go on for many more years and additional generations. So yeah, those were major components. I'd say it's really those things: the mission, the vision, the values, and these I'll say kind of rules and principles of engagement. Trying to think what else is in that constitutional document.
So the family hiring policy is in there, what we kind of just outlined before. A matrix of responsibilities between family members, family shareholders, managers within the company, directors at the company, just breaking out who is going to be responsible for which tasks.
Decision rights, yeah.
Yeah, decision rights, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So there are a lot of formats out there, and you can Google that, and Lisa probably has a bunch of them. So yeah, it was a matter of kind of working through that process.
I don't have the mic anymore, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure. Is there another question? Yes, Charlie, I can see.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
So,
First, I'd like to say you have an amazing family, and so you should be very proud of your children's most mature discussion on an incredibly difficult, potentially incredibly difficult area, and so fantastic. This is a question that I get asked from time to time, because you and I are the same age. Do you have a timeline for transition?
I'm basically ready when they are. You know, my personal preference, and Lauren and I talk about this, you know, that's a joint decision between us. You know, it probably the earliest 5 years. I can go longer than that. I enjoy it very much, and I'm very engaged in it. 5, 7, 10 would probably, anywhere in there is probably in my personal comfort zone. I want the succession to be smooth and effective, and so when the stars are lined up, I know it's important too, and my dad did this for me, you know, he was very okay with walking away and letting me do my thing, or the next generation do their thing. And I know that's an important part of the process. So, you know, strictly my personal preference would probably be that 5 to 10 thing. But I am open to adapting to how things play out and when those stars feel like they're aligned and the time feels right.
thank you.
I think it's important to note too that you've put together an interesting succession document so that if anything should happen to you and the family needed to step in, there's a lot of information in there about, you know, what to do with ownership, who's to be able to make those key decisions, where information is, and so on. So even though a specific date hasn't necessarily been set, should something happen, the company and the family are both really prepared. And again, it's unusual to find a family that's gone to that amount of effort to prepare that document for others.
Yeah, plan A is Lauren and I live to 100 and everything's great. It's fantastic. You know, you never know, you know, what's going to come along in life. So I did put together that document to give Lauren guidance if something were to happen to me. And if, God forbid, something were to happen to both of us, there's guidance, you know, for others to. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's really wise planning. So we have time for just one more. Again, okay, so I see a hand right in the very middle where it's going to be really challenging to get that mic, so go ahead.
Can you just describe a little bit the guts of what the company does? I mean, security systems could mean a bunch of different things.
So describe the company, yeah.
Yeah, so we're in physical security, so burglary systems, intrusion detection, fire, access control, video surveillance.
Mix of residential and commercial, and you know, we do the really big stuff and we do residential as well. And our footprint, we have offices in Erie, Pennsylvania, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Albany, and then take a right-hand turn down the Hudson River, and we've got Catskill, New York, and Fishkill, New York, and that's our footprint.
Good. All right. So we're going to be staying here, so we've got some time later on today during the cocktail hour to be able to grill you with more questions and so on. I do want to say that it is such a pleasure to work with this family. It's lovely to see an organization that's put so much time and effort into understanding the impact of the business on the family and making sure that there's a strong integration between both, paying attention to the needs of the business, paying attention to the needs of the family. It's not an easy thing to do. So I want to thank all of you for taking the time to come all the way out here to New York to be part of this. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and thank you all for listening. So thank you.
Can I get a photo of you all together before you leave?
Okay, sure.
All right, 3, 2. Awesome, thank you, congratulations.
Thank you, John, Jack, Alexandra, and Lee. Thank you very, very much.